Welcome to Ayurvedic Healing and Beyond podcast. My name is Vignesh Devraj, an Ayurvedic doctor and a holistic health coach. Each week we share wisdom or interview an inspiring personality to guide you become your healthiest self. Remember, your health is your greatest asset. If you are interested in doing one-on-one online Ayurvedic consultation with me, please find the details in the show notes of this podcast or do visit www.vigneshdevraj.com. Hari Om Shantalaji, it is such an honor to have you in my podcast and listening to some of your interviews and also to some of your online webinars on Gayatri Mantra chanting, Mrityunjaya Mantra chanting, and also Vishnu Sahasranamam. It was really a eye-opening for me. Okay, I come from South India. I learned a lot about this Vedic chanting from my childhood. But then, you travel and you listen to many new ways of chanting. And then when you look back, you realize, oh my God, I learned it wrong way in certain parts. And then when I listened to you, the first, the free workshop that you were doing on Gayatri Mantra chanting, I was just, my goodness, I was making quite a few mistakes. And then that really made me realize, okay, these were how the phonetical pronunciations has to be. So thank you so much for doing these kind of works, when also making it so easy to understand and making mantra chanting so difficult. And I think because the Vedic mantra chanting, sometimes we understand a lot of technical jargons, because of which now we go into the musical version of these chantings. At least that is giving a lot of opportunity to that. But listening to your free workshop on Gayatri mantra chanting and also the other mantra chanting was really an eye-opener for me, coming from South India. So it was really an honor to have you in my podcast. And thank you so much for taking your time to be a part of this.
Vigneshji, thank you so very much for inviting me. It is my honor to be on this platform and to share what little I know and what I have received from my teachers. I'm very happy that my work is of service to many and to people like you as well, and I hope that continues. Thank you.
Yes. Shantalaji, so you are an engineer by background, and you worked in many technical aspects of the materialistic world. And of course, I would say mantra is like another engineering in the ethereal world. That's another way of looking at it. So what was your, that trigger to transit to this kind of work that you're doing? And when I see your work, definitely it's not a work that you do it for some motivation. It's something, there is a divine hand that is, coming and forcing you or guiding you to do the work that you're doing. And every chant that I listen to you, it's full of divine energy that you could feel. And that's what, when I see in your workshops, when I see all the other people connected with that, the vibrations of the chants that you do, it's really a mind-blowing. So what was your transit that made you to continue what you're doing right now?
This is a beautiful question, because on the one hand, it feels like a huge shift from what I was doing before. On the other hand, for me, it feels like I've just moved from one technology to another. And, it's been very seamless. My entire life actually makes complete sense. I used to wonder myself, how did I spend 20 years in a different sector, in the technology sector, although, I didn't work in, programming and stuff like that. I was more in design, and I was running HR. So I did a lot of technology HR related. So things like learning and development systems and competency frameworks and recruitment and, developing e-learning platforms for the company and so on. So I've transitioned from that to basically offering e-learning for a different topic. So really speaking, I have not, it's not a huge shift for me. I feel like I'm doing the same job, but with a more divine content. And the shift, so to speak, for lack of better words, this movement, let's say, has basically always been there with me. Even when I was working, in corporate and technology, in the technology sector, I was always feeling like there was something else waiting for me. Mm-hmm. So, I have taken many sabbaticals, gone on pilgrimages. I've gone twice to Vaishno Devi. I've gone done many retreats and stayed in ashrams, and just during my like vacations, I would go to a yoga retreat. I also did a yoga teacher training program in Mumbai in one of
Mm-hmm.
these, sabbaticals.
Mm-hmm.
And I always knew there was something else. And plus, I also grew up in a home where chanting was our main tradition. So my mother
Mm-hmm.
was a teacher, chanting teacher. And so, like really literally the whole time growing up, I've seen my mother develop a community and her classes and how she taught people. It's really in my blood. So there is no big shift that has happened. I think I just found that which I was supposed to do. It's just that I believe I needed all this previous training in order to offer it in the format I offer it now. So the entire thing is not a shift. It's just, all the preparation I needed to be able to offer it, to be able to deliver it in this using technology. So, creating this online platform and all of that, I would not have been possible but for my previous experience. So, and this whole shift was mainly my mother when
Mm-hmm.
she passed away about 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I decided then to continue the family tradition. That
Mm-hmm.
was the main motivation to, the shift, so to speak, was because my mother passed away and I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
keep her legacy and, continue that. I just didn't think that it would turn into my full-time work. It was
Mm-hmm.
something I started small. I had no way of, no network. I was in another country, so in a country where it seems like, people might not be interested, and I've been completely proven wrong. So it's been a fantastic journey of figuring this out, and I'm still figuring things out, of course, but at least the path is very clear.
That's so beautiful how you put it. The all the experiences that you got being an engineer and learning about e-learning and doing all these computer-related stuff. It all just set the foundation to take your real legacy forward in a much better platform. It's so beautiful, and how you put this across. And Shantalaji, so you said that you had a belief that not many people would be receptive to this, but you were proven wrong. Now, where did we pick up this belief? Because I also thought sometimes this mantra chanting, sometimes during for me, this was like a part of my household. You get up in the morning, you listen to M.S. Subbulakshmi's Vishnu Sahasranamam, and then we have the Sandhya Vandanam being practiced. We chant Gayatri mantra, and before every new start that we do, we will have a ritual that is pray to Lord Ganesha. This is something that we do, but I never knew the real meanings of that because this was something that was followed mindlessly. Sometimes I would say the word mindlessly, but then later, you're forced to it, and the rebel in you comes and asks you, why do you force me to do this? Why do you force me to do that? But then when you go deeper into this, the meaning just makes you, my goodness, how this can impact your nervous system, how it can impact your sense of life, how it can help you to calm down. So for you, what was that, you had a belief that this is not going to be receptive, but then now you see that it's proved wrong and many people are receptive to it. What is that people are more receptive to mantra chanting today?
I, I wouldn't call it a belief. It's not a belief. I think it was some kind of, just an assumption. And many
Mm-hmm.
told me as well. I was also told that, that this is not India and it's not
Mm-hmm.
something, because people are more interested in like a postural practice. It's more
Mm-hmm.
logical. There is a immediate response to postural yoga because you feel well and your body feels good. And
And it's physical in
this
nature.
sense, and it's physical in nature, and you don't need to commit to anything else,
Exactly.
and so that was the main thing. But for me, I just I felt like, there was nothing else. I mean, many people would tell me this, but it never stopped me. So I felt
Mm-hmm.
like there is something to it, because I also left this job and a paying job, so to speak. And so a few months down the line, I would think about this paycheck and I felt nothing. And I said, this is a good sign then, so I'm on the right track. And the reason also I felt like maybe people aren't interested is because I personally didn't have a network. So I was starting from zero, literally. And so I would organize a class and nobody would come. So, it was just this initial, let's say, assumption. And I just kept going. So I just kept doing what I needed to do. And then it just, one thing led to another. And slowly it started to sort of develop. And I also got clearer about, what I should be doing and how I should be doing it and what way to present it in. And mainly, my strength has been my own practice. So I feel like people are interested because of my own, sadhana. And this is the main thing. So I focused a lot. I continue to, my own practice time is longer, I spend more time on my own practice than I do teaching. And so it took me a very long time before I started to offer more than one class a week. I was just teaching one class a week for years and years until I felt myself ready to offer more. Yes. And then it has slowly grown. And I think that people are looking for more, they want
Definitely.
and sound is such an, I wouldn't say easy, but it's such a tangible, practice to work with, because you use your breath, you use your own life force, you are using your body in a way. And you give the mind a very beautiful object to focus on when you're chanting, and especially Vedic chanting. It's not just this musical elaboration, you have to learn some Sanskrita, you have to understand some grammar, even more, you have to understand some Vedic phonetics. So there is a lot of different things, you have to maintain the integrity of the Sanskrit language. And you have, and in the process of following all this and chanting even a small mantra, you have applied so much concentration, like in no other practice, we apply so much laser focus that there is a response to that. And there is a certain sense of, gratification of having spent all your resources, used all your inner resources on one thing. And this is, I think, a very beautiful process for many. And of course, then the sound of Veda chanting is, undoubtedly mesmerizing. And people are drawn to it. Yes.
That vibration definitely takes you to another level.
I believe so. And I think that people like then eventually the process, even though it's very difficult to learn, Vedic chanting. It is not everybody's, it's not for everyone. But the ones who find it, I think, are basically, I feel with most of my students, I feel like it's not their first time, it feels like all these, we are all finding each other. And it's, a familiar practice people are coming back to. That's what it feels like for me. So in the end, what I've realized is that I offer the same teaching to Indians and to international people. It's the exact same teaching. In my classes, I have a lot of Indians as well, and we also have people from all over the world. And everyone uses the same teaching. And surprisingly, everyone has similar challenges, whether it's an Indian or otherwise. All students struggle with the same things. And there are some advantages that, Indians have due to, a natural sort of let's say
mother tongue influence.
Exactly, because all our languages are based on Sanskrit. We have a vocabulary in common and it comes more easily. But you'll be surprised at how many international students I have that chant so beautifully, and it also comes to them so easily. And so for me, there is I don't see any view my students in any different way. They're all the same to me, and they all have the same challenges, and they all struggle with the practice, and we all sort of struggle together. And it's absolutely stunning. It sort of, it's such an endorsement that Veda is really for everyone. It's not meant for it's nobody's ownership. It's really meant for really anyone who is committed to learn. It's for them.
Uh, uh, when Vedavyasa compiled it, he didn't put a copyright. He said copy left. It's for everyone who can decode it.
Exactly.
And when you're talking about the sound, in Ayurveda, we have these three doshas like Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And among these three, Vata is considered to be the most brutal force and also the one that is responsible for many uh, symptoms that you are not able to see it. They only can feel it. And one of the ways you can balance this Vata is something that is associated with our nervous system. And Vata has ether and air as the two elements of the dosha. And sound is considered as one of the most powerful medium to influence and manipulate and also to balance Vata. And maybe that is where, and also our ears, when you listen, see the words have so much powers. You can actually make a person happy, you can make a person heal, you can also kill a person with certain words. If you put it in certain tones and do it, it has such potential. And definitely this Veda chanting, when we are chanting with these certain phonetical perfection, and when we go through these rhythms, definitely there is a vibration that we feel. It's actually like our soul and spirit took a shower. That's how you feel after you chant certain mantras. And Shantalaji, I want to emphasize in this interview with you, when I attended your workshop on Gayatri Mantra, you talked about the importance of clarity. We all are looking for clarity because it is in order to find clarity, we keep doing this. And once we didn't find and we don't have fulfillment, we try to do something else. And you mentioned that Gayatri Mantra is one of the powerful mantras to find clarity in your life, also for your spirit. So can you talk more about that? How do we find that clarity and where are we missing it, and how this mantra can help us in your experience?
Sure. I mean, there is a reason why this Gayatri mantra has been, so important in our tradition. There's an unquestioned trust in the efficacy of this mantra over
Definitely.
millennia. I mean, there is, especially in India, if you ask anyone who is in this tradition, which is the most important mantra, undoubtedly it is the Gayatri mantra. And this mantra is, even though it's called Gayatri mantra, the mantra is not about Gayatri, but the mantra is cast, set in the Gayatri meter. And this Gayatri meter means 24 syllables. Of course, the Gayatri mantra itself is a variation of this meter, but it's called Gayatri because it's set in this specific formula, and it's a very intelligent formula. And this gives it, there is a rhythmic movement. So all mantras have these three elements. There is this rhythmic sound movement. And we call this chandas, or this, 24 syllable formula, Gayatri, that is the movement. So there is the thing that makes the mantra rise in you, in yourself. This is because of this rhythmic movement. And then, just exactly what you said, that, you can even kill someone with sound, that there is such a profound effect that sound has on us. All mantras, because it is sound, also has that psychological aspect to it. And so the Gayatri mantra also has this, and this psychological effect is basically responsible for our transformation. What does the mantra mean? That's the transformative aspect of the mantra. And above and beyond all that, the rhythms of nature, rhythm we call it, or basically a natural order that is in the universe, is embedded in all Vedic mantras, which is why we feel some familiarity when we hear it. It's inexplicable. There are people who sort of have tears in their eyes. They cannot explain what is it why do I feel this attraction to a Vedic mantra? It's because of this, natural embedding of our universe's rhythms in the mantra. So with these three aspects this is what forms a Veda mantra. Without these, it's not a Veda mantra. It's, music or whatever else. And then, we maintain the integrity of the Sanskrit language as well. We have short syllables, long syllables, aspirated syllables, not aspirated syllables, alpa prana, mahaprana, so on. So many things are happening in that one little mantra. Mm-hmm. But the most important thing is that this mantra is addressing prayerfully an aspect of the sun. Mm. And what does the sun do? When the sun comes out, the clouds clear up. So, in that symbolic way, whatever confusions we might have in life, even though we might not even know that these confusions exist, start to clear up through prayer. So the technology is prayer. The instrument is the mantra. And what it means is causing that transformation, and slowly, and this is incremental, it's not just something that happens overnight, or it's not just because you chant the Gayatri mantra that suddenly everything is great. But there's many things, with it, the lifestyle and, the shraddha that you put into the practice, your effort at chanting it correctly, learning it correctly, your effort at understanding it correctly, and allowing it to, reveal itself to you. Mm-hmm. This is what makes the Gayatri mantra amazing. And it is such a simple mantra at the end of the day. It is just a simple petition to Savitra, to the sun, to an aspect of the sun, to give me complete, to direct my thoughts, to dhiyo yo naf prachodayat. May my thoughts be impelled in the right direction. So it's a prayer to the sun saying that, may I think correctly every day. Whatever choices come my way, please let me make the right choice every day. So if there is no other mantra you want to practice, this is fine. But if there is one mantra to practice, it would be Gayatri. Yes. Because once you have clarity, that's what my teachers say. Once you have clarity, you will have everything. This is the most important thing to have, which is why it's an initiation mantra, the mantra that we use for our Upanayanam ceremony, for when a child starts their Vedic study, so to speak. That is the mantra for initiation. And it's not a coincidence. It's because, yes. So I hope that sort of answered the question.
Yeah, definitely. It really opened up many aspects. I mean, when I did my Upanayanam when I was a kid, my parents have to give some motivation why you must chant Gayatri mantra every day. And some of the priests who would come and tell us, this is how you have to chant. And sometimes we, make it super fast so that you have to finish it and you can do what you want to do, or you can go and play cricket or do something. So when you're chanting this mantra, sometimes if you chant 108 every day, you will get good marks in your exam. And then you are, okay, fine, at least I will chant it for that. But then listening to one of my gurus, Swami Chinmayananda, what he said was, like what you said, it is not that when you chant Gayatri mantra, everything is going to get better. But when you chant certain mantras, what happens is there is a higher force that you are allowing into your own self. So you respond to your life situations in a much better way. And that energy is so important for how we deal with everyday events that are happening to you. And that is what we all need. And when you said about, it is it's actually like a sankalpa. We are making an intention, because what is anxiety? Anxiety is one of the biggest problems that we are facing today, especially this post-pandemic. And we say that anxiety is using our imagination in the wrong manner. We are constantly thinking, what can go wrong? What can go wrong? And at that time, when we make a conscious awareness or intention, just guide me so that things can go better. Just guide me so that I choose the right thing. Just guide me so that in this experience, I tend to choose what is best for me. That ability to understand, and when you make that intention, like, now this neuroplasticity science, it talks about this reticular activation system. Whatever you are convinced that you want to see, that you will end up seeing more of that. In the same way, when we make that intention, we tend to see, make each and every moment much more beautiful with that kind of an intention. So as you said, the clarity, once we make that intention, and when we see that we have a higher power that is guiding us, it just makes a big difference. And I would like to also say, sometimes the word prayer, it is so associated with the religion. It is like you have to pray and pray to this God. But in this aspect, I think we have to also re-emphasize, prayer has nothing to do with the religion. It's more about connecting with your true inner self, that you are the one with all the source, and also the connecting to that sun. And it's such a symbolic gesture when we know that once the sun rises, the cloud melts and you see the light. And we all love that clouds coming up. No, sorry, the sun rising and the clouds melting. That is such a powerful thing. And that is when we have more clouds, we feel that people get into more depression and all these things. So it's so phenomenal that you brought up that topic on how clarity is so important. So, Shantalaji, so you also mentioned if you want to start with one mantra and let it be Gayatri mantra. Now, what are the rules? I mean, now we see that Gayatri mantra is also famous with many different music and even with beats and with all of that. But at the same time, chanting it phonetically, the energy that you feel is profound compared to listening to that. Now, how do we? Is it okay that if you can chant once the proper phonetical sounds of how you do the Gayatri? I'll just mute my this thing so that.
Sure. I'll be happy to chant the Gayatri mantra once for all our listeners. Om Bhurbhuvah Suvah Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuvah Suvah Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat.
Wow, it really takes you to another level. When you sit with all your intention and listen to every vibration of that, what the words are giving, it's really magic. That's the word that can describe it, for a lack of better word. Now, Shantalaji, what exactly is the meaning of this? One thing I always found it difficult when I started learning Sanskrit is it's not, you could twist and the permutation, the sequence can be different, but you have to know how to decode these words. So even if you take word by word meaning, it's going to be difficult to align that sequence. So we have to learn prior with some guru's interference and guidance, only then we are able to guide it. So could you tell us the meaning of this Gayatri mantra?
See, in terms of chanting it correctly, let me start there, and then I'll give a brief,
Yes.
meaning as taught by my teachers. But in terms of learning it correctly, the first thing is you either need an initiated teacher. There are many teachers, but you either need an initiated teacher or you need the teaching. So you need all the details of how to chant it, whether it comes in the format of just the teaching or, so a teacher is behind it in some way. Because it's not so simple, things like Bhur Bhuva Suvaha is basically a combination of Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, and grammatically becomes Bhur Bhuva Suvaha. So this slight understanding needs to be there. If you've never done Vedic chanting before, then you need to understand that there is something called swara. There is a middle note, there is a high note, and there's a low note. Bhur bhuvas suvaha, bhuvas, exactly at that point of va, the note comes down. Suvaha, exactly at that point it goes up. This is very precise in Vedic chanting. Tatha vitar, tat is on the middle note, sa on the high note, Vetar, you hear that? So this is very precise and has to be maintained. There are only these three notes, and there are some variations to these notes, like prachodayat. We call that a dirgha swarita. Prachodayat. The syllable ya is split into two notes. The ya is chanted on a middle note. The swarakshara, the vowel sound, is liberated from that syllable, ya, and chanted on a higher note. Ya, ya, at. It's very precise. And when there is an ending like that, the t ending, prachodayat, we don't just stop at prachodayat. We don't do that. Prachodayat. And other things are, and the most common mistake everyone makes with the Gayatri mantra is to not chant the aspirated sounds. Bhur bhuvasuvaha. The bhuvas, they're aspirated sounds. We don't chant bhur bhuvasuvaha. That's not Sanskritam. So these aspirated sounds, they need to be learned correctly. Ta, tha, vetar, when ta, sa meet, also it becomes an aspirated sound. Ta, tha, vetar. See, these rules don't exist in classical Sanskrit. This is Vedic. You have to learn from a Vedic scholar. Ta, tha, vetar, vare, in, yam, in, yam. It's again that dirgha swarita. One syllable. That syllable is chanted split on middle note and high note. So it's very, very precise. This is why I find that my previous life, moving from technology to this, has been just a very smooth transition from one technology to another. It's so precise. And this is what in my classes I represent with my color coded schematics, so people can chant accurately without making any errors. So because it's the sound that is the meaning, right? I mean, if you're saying the word apple in different ways and it's unrecognizable, then it's not about apple anymore. So this is the first level. You must get the sound correctly. And then we start to go into understanding the meaning, which is, the meaning is that this is tat savituhu, that, that is so close to each other. Tat savituhu. So we meditate upon, we worship. Varenyam is we adore and we worship that savituhu. Savituhu is this, aspect of the sun. We worship this sun, and who bhargo devasya dhimahi. We meditate upon the splendor, the radiance of this divine entity, and may this savit propel my thoughts in the right direction. So, just what you said, like this word prayer sometimes has a very, relation to religion. And it took me also a long time to sort of start using the word more freely, let's say, and explain the word as well. For the way my teachers explain prayer is, it's really not religious in that sense. It's just, for me, it's another technology. Because you have two choices. This is how my teachers explain it. When things are not going well for you, you have still, you feel like there are no choices left for me. I'm like pushed in a corner and there's no choice in this bad situation. But there still is a way to exercise your free will in a positive way in the worst situation. And this is what we call prayer, which is reaching out to something higher and asking to be helped. This is, what is prayer. And it can be, in any form, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a Vedic mantra. It can simply just be I need help, kind of an exclamation. But that's what I mean when I say, a prayer. It's like it's more a petition to the universe to be helped. Yes.
And that's why I think before we do many rituals, we say, now we have a sankalpa and we keep our hands together and we do a sankalpa. And that sankalpa is full of guiding our imagination in the right direction. Because we are so, by default, like we say, our brain is designed for survival. So we are constantly looking for how things can go wrong. And in such a way, that sankalpa has such a profound effect on directing us to the right direction. And that is where I think such mantras are such a powerful technology. And thanks for saying that prayer is such a profound technology. I think that makes such a big difference in your approach to prayer, because usually many people have this, I don't want to be associated with the religion. So they just, the moment the prayer just puts them away from many things that
Indeed,
can help them.
This was something I used to shy away from myself, even though I come from such a traditional family. The idea of prayer, for me felt like, no, we should not be praying and asking for things. We should be fighting our own battles.
Exactly.
But the clever thing to do is to reach out and ask for help when you need it. That's part of living intelligently. And it took me a very long time to come to terms with it. And now I
You
ask
got
for
the
help all
clarity
the
there.
time.
You got the clarity there.
Exactly. Exactly. And now I ask for help all the time.
Uh-huh. I think one of the reasons is when you say that I want to pray, it's almost like confessing I'm weak. That's where we miss
Yes.
that
And why
thing.
not? I mean, you think about it, when you're being physically attacked, who
Mm-hmm.
would you go and ask for help? You would
Mm-hmm.
ask, you would ask somebody who is equipped to help you, right? That's not when you will go and ask a monk to help you. You would ask
Mm-hmm.
a soldier to help you. So ask for help from the right resources. That's
Exactly.
the general idea of the prayer is exactly, yeah.
And I
So, for
think
lack of better words, I'm trying to bring the word prayer back into fashion, let's say, and
mm-hmm.
make it something cool to do.
And I think this completely relates with this new fashionable thing about it's okay to be vulnerable. you know
Sure,
you can be vulnerable, and in fact some of
we
the month,
are.
yeah, exactly. I think that is what connects humans. When we talk about our struggles, everybody is going through their own struggles that we do not know. And when we are understanding that there is a struggle and challenge that I'm facing, mostly what happens, people, we keep it under the carpet, and outside we show things are fine, and that's when it just builds up and one day it bursts. And then it could be many things in life that goes wrong. So every day when we do this, that is when we take it one step, but a very solid, sure, profound, grounding step. That is where we need to go across.
Absolutely. And, if I were to summarize everything, into very, a small number of words as to what has been my biggest shift in life
Mm-hmm.
has been the cultivating of a prayerful attitude.
Mm-hmm.
That has been my biggest shift from what I used to be to what I am now. That is the biggest shift. And the shift has happened through the mantras of the Veda.
Mm-hmm. That's so powerful. And in fact, there is this chant that I also love to do, which is Hanuman Chalisa, which is not Vedic, or there is the beginning. It's also Buddhi hina tanu janike, that knowing that I am ignorant in many aspects of my life, guide me so that I find the right things in my life. That's such a powerful way. I am vulnerable that I do not know many things that I'm looking forward, but guide me. And once we ask for it, like we say, ask and it is given. And that help, I think we can also call it, as some people who, if we are having issues with the word help, assistance, guidance, just showing that path where you need to go forward. That is so powerful. Instead of learning it the hard way and suffering with the hard way, once we know it, we can go forward. We save a lot of our time, testing unnecessary things. That is just creating more time to unlearn and go forward. I think it's
Exactly.
such a
It's the most intelligent thing to do.
exactly.
Yes.
And you also mentioned, we need a guru to initiate into certain things. And okay, for me, I was blessed, to be born in that community where you can get that. But today, I think we are even more blessed with the technology that we do get the possibility to access many gurus across the world. And so on the aspects, we hear many people listening to the Vedic mantras in music. So I think one of your challenges must be to help them to unlearn that and to relearn it. If I'm understood it right.
Absolutely. I mean, many people have had to unlearn,
Mm-hmm.
previous samskaras, we call it, these
Mm-hmm.
habitual patterns. And the other thing, I think, the other big challenge is even differentiating
Mm-hmm.
Vedic chanting and music, because they seem to get clubbed under the same sort of umbrella.
Yes, that is something that I'm so interested to hear from you. So how can we understand? And what's also the difference when we do a musical way of chanting and a proper, authentic, with integrity of this Vedic phonetical chants?
Well, the simplest answer is that Veda is basically it's a sound system. It's Shruti, and
Mm-hmm.
the sound system has you have to understand it correctly. All these things I mentioned. There is maintenance of swara. You have to meet. So if we look at one of the frameworks, is basically it's in the Taittiriya Upanishad. And the beginning of the Taittiriya Upanishad starts with helping the student understand how to recite the Veda. And it talks about this framework of 6 rules. It talks about Varna, Matra. So, Varna, Swara, Matra, Balam, Sama, Santanaha. Without this framework, it's not Veda chanting, it's something else. So, what are these rules? Is basically Varna is maintaining the integrity of the Samskrita syllables, pronouncing, each sound in Sanskritam has a unique way to pronounce it, a unique position of the tongue in the mouth, contact points in the mouth, and produce certain families of sounds. And this is, Varna. So we need to know that. Then there's Matra. Varna, Swara, sorry. So Swara is the notes. There is a middle note, high note, low note, and there is this Dirgha Swarita. And there are some variations to it as we progress and learn more, advanced mantras. So we have to maintain that. It's not that you can take a mantra and give it your own tune. It is no longer Veda then. Because Veda is defined by the Swara, the accents. They have to be maintained. It's the language of the Veda. Vedic Sanskritam is with Swara. You understand?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then there's Matra, which is that there are some syllables that are Hrasva, short, some syllables that are long, Dirgha, and there's also Pluta, longer than long, and so on. But we have to maintain the integrity of that if you want to chant in Vedic Sanskritam. Now, if you fit a mantra into a tune, we are stretching the syllables to fit the tune and all of that. It's no longer the language at all. And then the aspirated sounds, Balam. Sama is maintaining a certain pace, pitch, continuity of the chanting. And Santanaha, very important, is there are certain grammatical rules to follow. Like even very simple example would be Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Many people will chant that as Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. But it's actually Shantihi, Shantihi, Shantihi. The middle two Shantis change to Shantish because we drop the visarga and it becomes a sh sound, which is the sound afterwards. And only the last Shantihi is pronounced fully. Shantish, Shantish, Shantihi, because there is no sound afterwards. So this is one of the rules. We also have an exhaustive set of rules for all the nasal stop sounds, what it becomes afterwards. We have to understand that. And more than classical Sanskrit, we have some additional sounds in Vedic. So like the Upadhvaniya and the Jihva Mulya. An example is the Gayatri mantra. Dhiyo yo naf prachodayat. The naf, like sound, is called an Upadhvaniya. It's Dhiyo, Dhiyaha, Yaha, Naha. That Naha becomes naf prachodayat. You have to learn this from a teacher, or you need the teaching, to tell you precisely what to do. If you're not following these, then it's some other practice. It's not in the language of Vedic Sanskrit, and it is not the sound system that Veda is. Chandas is the meter. If you don't maintain these things, it's not Veda. Then you're doing something else. Nothing bad is going to happen to you. I don't prescribe to that school where they are threatening you with, lightning is going to strike down upon you. Yeah, there is no fear mongering here. So nothing bad will happen to people who are, singing the Gayatri mantra. It's not about that. It's about questioning and being curious about what it is you're practicing and understanding that practice. If it is a Vedic mantra, then trying to understand what is a Vedic mantra, what is the Veda. Understanding that and being curious about it, being a discerning student. If someone gives you a Veda mantra to learn, you ask them, where are the swaras? What is the chandas for this? Who is the rishi it was revealed to? What is the prayoga? What is the utility of this mantra? And so on. Where in the Veda is it located? Is it in the Rig Veda? Is it in the, Taittiriya, Yajurveda? Where is it? Those type of things. I think one must educate themselves on their own practices, if not other people's practices. If you are going to practice something, get to the bottom of it and do it, correctly. But if you want to enjoy Gayatri Mantra as music and song, do that. But it's not practicing of Vedic Mantra. You're singing Gayatri song, something like that. So I hope that answered.
Definitely. But I think on another side, at least it is giving exposure to this idea of Vedic Mantra so that from there they will come into the authentic version somehow. That's also
I think
one
it
way you
helps
can.
some people, but on the other hand, I think there's a whole lot of misleading also going on, because a lot of people really don't know the difference between Vedic chanting and music because of this. But if it helps a few people, and if people have found their way to something that has, been profound for their own lives, then, who's to question that, right? So as long as something has helped people, it's fine. But I think it does some level of disservice to the tradition, to the lineage of rishis, and to what it is indeed. And it would be great if people looked into that a little bit before making a best-selling album.
I think that's where your work, we need to promote more and reach out this message to as many people as possible, so they are able to come to the real source of this. And I feel also the phonetical inefficiency of English is also contributing to it, because in Sanskrit, you have a phonetical sound associated with every alphabet that you have. So that is why I also really admire to the extent of which you have to put so many English alphabets to make one sound, how to make one alphabet sound, how it has to be pronounced. And which actually makes it much more different. And usually, you go to Google and you see the English words written. Oh, then let's stand it, because the English phonetics, it's so inefficient. You can read it anywhere, whichever way you want it, depending on your accent that you have. And that is where learning Sanskrit and its alphabets, its swaras, its phonetical precision in everything. So that is where when a guru can come and filter and make it much better.
Absolutely. And I think even here, students can be discerning, even if you're looking on Google, try to find correct texts with the English transliteration, not just written out in English, but using the standard transliteration format. And then you're, it's not as inefficient then, it's actually, it can work. Of course, the ideal solution is to read in Devanagari, and that would be best. But that is also quite a big commitment. And so finding the right text in the right transliteration is also a good solution for this. So it's really, I think, boils down to how discerning are you yourself about what you will accept to practice, and how you learn it. How discerning will you be? And if you are, then you can find your way to the right teaching.
That's what, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. That's such a powerful statement. And Shantalaji, what would be your recommendation? Definitely, people have to find a good teacher. But if they want to get into a sadhana of chanting Gayatri Mantra, how would your suggestion be? Sitting cross-legged and finding a place for that, and what is the ideal number that you recommend? And coming from where I am, we say that you need to face the east if you're chanting it in the morning, face the west in the evening, because you face the sun. Could you just clarify certain things? What are the things behind this?
So what I tell people is to build a daily practice that is sustainable for you. That is most important. Treat it like a meditation practice, which means that if you're chanting once or twice a week, it's not going to become a practice. So you need a daily practice, and it doesn't have to be very long. So to start with, I think it's good to learn some invocation mantras. You don't jump straight into Gayatri Japa. You don't jump straight into Gayatri recitation. That is why in the Vedic tradition, we have this beautiful practice, the Sandhya Vandanam. We have this pranayama with Gayatri and so many things. You have to be initiated to learn those things. But if you want to just build a simple practice, you need to start with, this is what I teach, at least. I teach that you start with invocation mantras to Ganapati, Saraswati. It sort of tunes your mind, it brings your
prepares
mind
you
to a
for that.
place. It prepares. You have to prepare for this. You can't jump into a practice. So it brings you to a place, and it brings you to a place of focus, but with superb help,
Mm-hmm.
with the perseverance of Ganapati, with the wisdom of Saraswati. Okay. And armed with that, then you do the Gayatri Japa. And I'm fairly practical about this. Is the traditional number is 108 times practice, but you can also keep a meditation timer and do it for the amount of time that works for you. The focus is what is most important. So do that and end with any Shanti mantra. And it's a very simple way to build a practice. And you do this every day and see what happens for you. And be guided by what happens to you, whether you want to learn more or whether you want to just sustain this as a practice or find some other practice also. So this is what I say. And about the directions, etc., a lot of different traditions will speak about different things, about how in the morning and noon time, face east, and in the evenings actually face north, because this is the direction of Vishnu and so on. So it really depends on the tradition. I would say just do what works in a clean place, in a place that is quiet, same place every day if possible, just like a meditation practice. And do it after you have a shower in the morning. Do some things that make you feel good about it, some reverence to the practice, because the practice is important. I'm going to take a shower, I'm going to do it on an empty stomach, or I'm going to have a light something before it. I'm practicing a plant-based diet to support this practice, and so on. So I think this whole thing can be very transformative. Just small things, it can be a very transformative process. So to sum it up, I'd say, face the direction that suits you the best. If you can go deeper into it, it's fine. But otherwise, start with invocation mantras, do your Gayatri Japa, end with, Shanti mantra, and you have a beautiful, sustainable, short practice that's practical, that works for you.
But just get started, so that
Exactly.
will help you take it forward step by step, and you'd find the right teachers,
Always.
the right messages.
Yes, always the practice will lead you. And
That's
this
so
is what
powerful.
my teacher, one of my teachers told me when I wanted to start building Veda studies as an online platform. I had zero idea on where to start, how to start, what to do first. And what he told me was, you are more resourceful than you think. And I started with the practicing of, Agni mantras, which, sort of gave me the fire to to build the platform, So, and it's completely led by that, everything is led by the practice.
That's fantastic, Santalaji. It was really such a wonderful, enlightening discussion with you. And I hope that listeners can tap into the understanding of the authentic Vedic chants. And I'll definitely put your details in the show, the podcast show notes, vedastudies.com, so that people can reach out to your free classes. And also, when I saw the amount of Veda chantings that you have put in your website, it's just phenomenal. I think it's a lifetime work that you have put up there with all the chantings, and how you also interact with them to help them to get the right things. Even if I don't know how to read the Devanagari, and I found, even if I find your teaching, you have simplified it so well. How the some words and with the different colors, and where you need to put stress, where you have to, this aspiration, the haswa, Pluta, that you have made it so well for even a non-Sanskrit reader. That's
Absolutely. I
really
mean, that's
fantastic.
the commitment to passing it on with all of the details, not watering it down or not making it easy for me, but giving the entire practice in its completeness respectfully to all seekers. That's the mission.
Definitely. And one more thing, before I used to think the number 108 for chanting Gayatri Mantra, it's going to take a lifetime. That was what I kept in my mind. So during my childhood, you have to finish this so that you can go and start playing or doing what you want. So you would really speed up the tempo and start chanting. And then I made a self-analysis, chanting with this proper phonetical sounds, how long it's going to take. It doesn't take more than half an hour.
No,
108.
20 minutes
Yeah,
to
less
between
than,
20
not,
and 30 minutes is the
yeah,
practice
20
time.
to
Yeah,
30 minutes it takes. And how 30 minutes of that, when you can get fantastic energy for your nervous system, it's you're getting much more than that the time that you invest in many things in life.
exactly.
So when you look at it that way, that 30 minutes is one of the best things you can do to, appreciate everything else in your day that you're going to experience. So I
Absolutely.
think one of the best things you can do in your life is put 30 minutes of your day in 24 hours. 30 minutes is nothing. If that can appreciate the rest of the hours, if we can be productive, if we can be non-reactive, if we can stay calm irrespective of uncertainties that we face. So mantra chanting is definitely a beautiful technology that we all can incorporate and learn about it. So thank you so much, Shantalaji. It was really a pleasure to have this discussion, and I will definitely put all the contents so that people can reach out to you and learn your teachings. And if possible, if they're interested, they could also get initiated with your great interference. Thank you so much.
Vignesh, thank you very much. It's been a joy speaking with you as well. And I very much also enjoyed the birds who have accompanied you today.
Yes.
So it's been wonderful. Thank you so very much. I'm very grateful.
Thank you, Shantalaji.
Thank you for listening to Ayurvedic Healing and Beyond. If you loved and enjoyed this podcast, please do subscribe, share, and review us. This helps to spread our mission of guiding humanity to becoming their healthiest self, and also giving the right resources for holistic healing. If you wish to know more about my work, please do visit www.vigneshdevraj.com. And if you are interested in doing an Ayurveda treatment or authentic Panchakarma therapy, please log on to www.sitaramretreat.com.